Okay, now members, let us see how we divide, subtract, add, and multiply logarithms of numbers. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, start with, recall logarithm has two parts, i.e. the mandisa and then the characteristic. The characteristic we say can be positive or negative, and mandisa is always positive. If I give you these two, this one is what we call the characteristic, and this one is what we call the mandisa. It can be, this one can be a negative or a positive. That's why I say here it's negative. But you say, write a negative in logarithms as a bar. So this is the characteristics. Then this one is going to be our answer. So our characteristic here is this, and this is our answer. In logarithm, negative 3 is written as 3 bar and read as 3 bar. So we, instead of this, write it as that. Then here, we are going to see these ones here. We are going to come to this note after. So let us add, simplify the following. So you see the characteristic here is positive, here it's negative. So we add normally. This plus this will get 6. This plus this will get 3. This plus this will get 4. Now, this one, when you say back, it means that it's a negative. So you have 4 plus negative 2. That will give you a 2. This is always a negative. Using this side as negative 3 is always 3 back. When you say back, it means that you have a negative. So 4 plus a negative 2, you get a 2. Be careful with that. When you add this, you get 9. When you add this, you get 9 point. Negative 5 plus negative 3. So you have negative 5 plus negative 3. You get negative 5. But we say the logarithms, we write this as bar. This would be 5 bar. Add this and this, and we add 5, then a bar, like that. When you come to this, we have this plus this, we have 4. Then when I add this plus this, I get 11, I write 1, I carry 1. So first of all, we add this positive to this positive, we shall be adding the 3. So now, negative 4 plus 3, we shall be adding negative 1, which is 1 bar. Remember, we are carrying. Or you say 1 plus negative 4, that will be negative 3, plus 2, negative 1, which write like that. Then here, you start before we subtract here, we have to borrow. So if I borrow from here, I'll have now 1, but if I borrow from here, I reduce this by 1 to get 3. So then, this will be 10 minus 2, I get 8, 3 minus 2, I get 1, point. Now 2 minus 2, I get negative 2, which is 2 bar. Negative 2 is 2 bar. When you come to this, you see that now here, I also need to borrow. I borrow now from this, but if we borrow, remember whenever we borrow, we subtract. When we borrow here, we subtract this by 1. So now we are borrowing from a negative. It means that if we borrow from this, here we are going to remain with negative 3. If we borrow from here, then here we shall bring out a 10, and we borrow, so here remain with 9, and this one becomes 13. So 13 minus 8, we get a 5. Then 9 minus 1, we get 8. Now, here remember we borrowed. If we borrow now, we reduce by 1. So we reduce negative 2 by 1. So you have negative 2 minus 1, which will be negative 3. That's why I have here negative 3. So, negative 3 minus minus. I have now negative 3 minus 4. This will be now a positive 1, which will be 1 like that. As simple as that. So, be careful. When you are borrowing from a negative, it reduces by a negative. Like we see, we are borrowing normally. When you borrow from this, it becomes a 3, reduce it by 1. So, if you reduce negative 2 by 1, you get a negative 3. So here, the same case. When I borrow from this, I borrow because 3 minus 7 is impossible. So I borrow here. When I borrow this now, I'll subtract this by negative 1. So I'll be adding now negative 6 as what the figure here. When I bring here 1 now, I get 13. Now minus 7, there we shall be adding a 6. Point. Now negative 3. Minus. Now I have negative 3 minus 3, which will be negative 3, which will be 3 bar. As simple as that. So that's how we add or subtract logarithms. Numbers, when we divide and multiply logarithms of numbers with positive characteristics the same way we divide decimals with integers. Like you see here, when I get this side, if this is the characteristic is positive, you just divide normally. Divide this by this, you get this. Multiply this by this, you get this. But when the characteristic is negative, we need to take care, as we are going to see here. When multiplying or dividing number with a negative characteristic, we first separate them, the answer and the characteristic, and we multiply or divide them separately. When dividing, the characteristic should be a multiple of the divisor. So when we are dividing, this works if we are dividing, the characteristic should be a multiple of the divisor. Or the divisor should be a factor to the characteristic, as you are going to see. So here now, when we are multiplying, we first separate. How do you separate? This would be now 2 bar, now plus. So then I get this one means I press this with a 0. So this would be now 0.625. Now I'm multiplying with a 3. This 3 times this, I'll be adding. Now remember this is going to be now negative. So this would be now 3 bar, 6 bar. Then plus 3 times this. When this one you just multiply normally. Get your calculator, 0.625 times 3. I get 1.875. Now we start this one will be the same as 6 bar plus 1, then plus 0.875, as you see there. Now it means this is a positive and this is a negative. So this one is going to reduce this to 5 bar. Then plus 0.875. Then when you add, you write this as 5 bar, 0.8. Here now, you can't now leave this with the answer. No, you always add and divide. We only add the characteristic to the characteristic. So you add 0 to this, now you get 7.5. That's why here I separated it and I treated the characteristic with the with the characteristic. The answer for it, it's always alone and always positive. So when you get this and this, you just add this to this. Like we added this to this, we got -5. Then when you add 0 to this, you get this. Then you write this like that. So that's how we add that. When I come to this, I also separate. This will be now 6 bar plus 0.42 divided by 2 divided by 2. This 2 is dividing this and this 2 is dividing like this. When I divide this, it will be 3 bar plus. When I get that, divided by 2. This one will divide normally because we said there, just because this one, whenever you have a characteristic is 0 or positive, you divide it normally. This is 0.21. Now we add this to this, shall be added 3 bar 0.21, and that will be the answer. When now I come to this, I separate. This will be now 3 bar. Now dividing, 3 bar plus 0.46. 0.436. We are dividing with the 2. But now you see the same. When dividing, the characteristic should be a multiple of the divisor. So that this is not a multiple of this. What you do is the algebra. It's not that this one we can interpret this many ways. So you just need to get the multiple. But to get the multiple, it means that we should not affect this. What we do is, how do we handle that? Is that to get -3 is the same as -4 plus 1. Because when you simplify this, you are going to go back to this. You can also get -3 by saying -6 plus 3. But this one is that it's too big. So you always use the small one. You can even get -3 as -9 plus 6. As long as when you add this one, you get a negative. So what I'm going to do here. Why? I want to put this characteristic to be a multiple of the divisor. So So see that this one is not the multiple of this. So that's why I'm going to do that. I want, but why am I doing? Because when I put here, this is a negative. Now, if it's negative and I bring in another negative, I can divide. But remember the fact I'm going to bring in is going to affect this. But we said if it's a positive characteristic, then you can divide them normally. But for a negative, you make sure that it's a multiple of the divisor. The characteristic, the negative characteristic, let me add this, the negative characteristic should be a multiple of the divisor. So using now this gymnastic, now I'm going to take the first pair. So I use now that idea, then I write it there. So this is going to be now, you see this is going to be now 4 bar negative 4 now plus 1. Remember when I simplify this, I'll go at the term to this. Then plus my 0.436 divided by 2. Now it's when I add, I'll be adding now 4 bar, now plus this to this 1.436 divided by 2. Now we say, if you are dividing this which is positive, you can divide it normally using this note. But this one, you divide by this also. So this will be now 4 bar divided by 2, then plus 1.436 divided by 2. And that will be, this will give us 2 bar, then plus. Now this one you divide it normally, but you divide it normally there. 1.436 divided by 2. Here I'm getting 0.718. Now you see, we add this 0 to this to get 2 bar 0.718, and you are done there. So always take note that the negative characteristic should be a multiple of the divisor. When you come to this now, you see what we are having is 2 bar 0.125 divided by 5. We first separate. This will be now 2 bar plus. Now this will be 0.125 divided by 5 and all of this. Now you see that this one, the characteristic is not a multiple of a 5. So use the gymnastic. Now you can use it. You can see the closest to this is negative 5. But to get negative 5, you put in that the result should give you a positive and negative 2. So now this will be, now the whole of this is going to be now 5 bar. Then plus. Now what should I add to a negative 5 to get a negative 2? So that is going to be a 3. Because when I add a negative 5 plus a positive 3, I'll get a negative 2. So I've changed the nothing. Then plus our 0.125 divided by 5. Why am I getting negative? Because I'm seeing that the divisor is 5. So I need a multiple of 5. Or you can say negative 10 plus 8. That is also because when you say negative 10 plus 8, it's going to give you so negative 2. As simple as that. So this will be now 5 bar, now plus 3. When you add this point, 125 divided by 5. So now this will be 5 bar. This divides this, then plus this divides this over 5. And yes, that we have the answer as 1 bar plus. Now when you get this and you put it on your calculator, you get 0.625. Now you get this 0 to this, you get 1 bar 0.625, as simple as that. So that's how we handle the algebra of logarithms of numbers. I will show you.